The rest of the wide receiver group is underwhelming. Kincaid's had some moments. They need a playmaker in the worst way this offseason. I know they keep trying to get it done or pick these guys off. Maybe Keon Coleman will be that guy. Maybe Josh Palmer will be that guy. It's not working. They haven't replaced Stephon Diggs, and it shows. And I think Josh Allen could use some help. So Buffalo Bills in the offseason, free agency, NFL draft, get yourself a big playmaker.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Nah.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Let me ask you this. If they brought in Belichick, you don't think that... Yeah.
Oh, of North Carolina?
Yeah, they're playing much better now.
I wouldn't let him coach my kids. I don't even have any.
I tell you what, they would be more disciplined than what they are now offensively.
They'd be lifeless.
Yes, they would.
They'd be lifeless.
Yes, Brian Dable is a gutless head coach.
Bill Belichick came off a bye against
gutless
Clemson.
head coach.
3 plays in, they gave him 150 yards.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
But here we go. This is like, Pet Sematary. You guys don't remember this movie from the 1980s. But look, goodbye Tom Brady, I guess, wants to keep the generation alive. Couldn't he just have had this dog breed and just take the puppy of some kind? I don't know. But hey, Tom Brady does different things. Maybe this is just a signal for cloning in the future for humans. I'm not really sure here.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's the early line. It's time to rise and grind. It's a Tuesday morning, and your boy DRS stayed up way past his bedtime. Why? Because Monday Night Football had to be watched right down to the end. We're going to get into that game and much, much more. A lot of topics to hit. College football on the horizon. Later and later in the season, we get the NFL starting to come into focus after being around 50% down on the season. Oh, my goodness, we played too much football already at this point. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Ranieri. And over the next 2 hours, you know the drill. We have you covered on all the hottest topics. We're going to make sure you understand what happened in the NBA last night, what's going to happen in the association tonight, looking back last night on the Monday Night Football game, how it goes forward throughout this week and the rest of the season, just what we do on a Tuesday to get the people going, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of fun last night. Yeah. And if you like defense, it was a lot of fun. But a little NBA action, college hoops, NHL. I mean, the list goes on, and more college football tonight, Donnie. The endless nights of football continue for us.
Absolutely, they do. And by the way, you saw Thursday Night Football 10-7, Monday Night Football 10-7, and say, what is actually going on? But it's a Tuesday. If you stayed up late, it's time to get caffeinated. And Joe Ranieri has your Morning Joe, baby.
All right, Donnie. Well, today we're going to send a shout out to all the New York Giant fans. How you feeling this morning here? Well, you just fired another head coach, Brian Dable. The guy who won Coach of the Year just 2 seasons ago, the guy who actually took Daniel Jones to the playoffs and won a game. And let me just say, as a lifelong, miserable, beaten down New York Jets fan, well, welcome to our world. Because for my entire life, Donnie, the Giants, they were the stable franchise, the adults in the room, right? The Mara family, the rich history, the Super Bowl trophies, Parcells, Belichick, Lawrence Taylor. I mean, the problem was we were the joke to New York Jets. We were the clown show. Well, congratulations, Giants fans. You've now lapped us. You have officially surpassed the New York Jets in sheer, unadulterated futility. Remember what your owner, John Mara, said last year? How could you forget, right? He said Dable was, quote, Bono walking around New York City, end quote. But it doesn't take long to go from Bono to Bozo here, folks. He wasn't wrong. The guy had one of the most stunning falls from grace, I think, that I have seen in a long time here, Donnie. But it's not just the losing. It's the dysfunction. This is pure, uncut, same old Jets energy, a toxic atmosphere in the coaching staff, right? Got that. Remember that public feud that you had with a guy named, Wink Martindale? Yeah, how about a coach berating a doctor in the medical tent over a rookie quarterback? Yeah, you got to be kidding me, right? How about the final straw, though? Taking your one ray of sunshine, your one ray of hope, your rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, and repeatedly calling design runs for him until he gets his brain scrambled with his third concussion evaluation. That's not just bad coaching, Donnie. That's organizational malpractice. It's your fifth head coaching hire that you are making now in a decade, and you have the second worst record in the entire NFL since you ran the two-time Super Bowl champ Tom Coughlin out of town. So to all my Giants fans who have spent the last, however many decades laughing at us Jets fans, how's it feel? Because the script is flipped. The clown show has officially moved from Florham Park to East Rutherford. Welcome to hell, Giants fans. You're going to love it down here. I promise you, Donnie.
And they're going to rename MetLife the Toilet Bowl because both of those teams stink, and who knows if they're ever going to get out of it right now. And here's the interesting part, too, as we get into the early lineup. And we'll go right with Brian Dable, who was let go yesterday. No surprise, that's what happens when you underperform. And as Joe just talked about, it's one thing to underperform, but you know the future is there. If your future is a quarterback that might not be your future next year because his brain scrambled, as you say, yeah, he's got to go. But I don't understand this. The Giants are a bad franchise right now, and I laugh. Like, they have a buffoon owner right now. Has no idea what he's doing. You get rid of Dable. The fans like that. You know what else you have to get rid of? Joe Schoen, your general manager. Clean house. Bring in a general manager that gets to pick his guy and gets a fresh approach to what is absolutely not working for the New York Giants. But Dable's out as a coach, and Schoen stays.
Boy, I tell you, it's like I'm reliving Groundhog's Day here, only it's the Giants and not the Jets we're talking about here, because that is a Jets move. That is something Woody Johnson and that ownership group would have done, except for some reason, Donnie, the Jets have woken up here over the last couple of weeks and decided everybody's going to go. We're going to fire sale this and go from scratch, and the Giants are still trying to piecemeal it together. It's kind of head-scratching, my man, but what a difference. I guess it only took, 10 decades in order to figure it out, Jets and the Giants? Yeah, welcome to hell, like I said.
There you go, right at it. And by the way, Joe Burrow looking to hopefully cook for Thanksgiving on the football field, not just making a turkey at home at this point. But I got to tell you, is what the Bengals missing a good quarterback right now? Because they're getting good quarterback play, and it doesn't matter. But Burrow's like, look, I'm making a lot of money. Put me back out there. Maybe we have a chance. Hint, you don't, Cincinnati.
Are you going to play him at, linebacker or maybe
corner?
Defensive tackle? Or is he going to stop anybody from scoring? Because if he can't, listen, Joe Flacco was dropping 40 points a game and they still couldn't win. So I'm not sure what Joe Burrow is going to bring to the table or why he's in a rush to get back here, Donnie. It's kind of crazy to me, but you be you, Joe. You are collecting that check after all.
On the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field last night, NFC supremacy was on the line, and the Philadelphia Eagles picked up a 10-7 victory. We had no points in the first half. We had 3-0 entering into the fourth quarter, and then all hell broke loose. Yeah, with 2 touchdowns and some questionable decision-making, which we'll get to a little bit later in the show. But the Eagles improved to 7-2, and if the season ended right now, Joe, the number 1 seed in the NFC goes through Philadelphia.
Yes, it does. And what was a refreshing of sorts, Donnie, defensive battle last. And we don't get those very often anymore, especially when there's not, either a hurricane blowing through or, it's -8 degrees. I thought that was actually pretty entertaining for only 17 points.
It was. Enjoyed it. As an Eagles fan, absolutely loved it. Went to bed happy. Struggled with only a couple hours of sleep. Voice is a little bit weak, but here we are going over all the hottest topics here, which includes Major League Baseball. And I agree with this move here. Major League Baseball reaches out to those legalized operators for sports betting and says, hey, man, we got to come to an agreement, a $200 betting limit. But here's my favorite part, Joe. $200. Hey, this guy makes $30 million. Who's the next guy that's going to throw pitches for $200 for his boys? Mark my words when I say this. Somebody still will get into a betting scandal even at $200. Why? Because we're humans and we're stupid.
I mean, this cracks me up. This is all about optics. This is a Band-Aid on heart surgery. That's exactly what this is. They think any of this is going to matter. They are out of their minds. It is not. All about the optics, Donnie.
And how about this next story here? Brian Kelly rejects 2 settlement offers from LSU. And I got to say something right now. He should. Like, if you make a decision to pay a guy that much money and then he doesn't work out and you try to weasel out of your commitments here, like, you know, he used to do that. Al Davis used to always do that with his coaches. He'd fire him with 3 years left on the contract. Like, I'm not paying you out. They'd always go to court, settle, and absolutely win that. No reason why Brian Kelly should have to not get his $54 million because they made a mistake. Take your money, eat that mistake.
Oh, they're going to eat it, Donnie. And this is what happens when a governor decides that he is going to run a football program at a state university worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This is exactly what happens.
Hey, in a new day and age, Kyle Hendricks is retiring right now. He should have a good 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years left in his arm, but retires with a career ERA of 3.79.
Kind of hard to believe. 12 seasons. It feels like he's been around longer than that, doesn't it, Donnie? It feels like he's been around forever.
And by the way, Tatsuya Imai, if I'm pronouncing that correctly here, welcome to the Los Angeles Dodgers, because that's probably what happens.
I'd like to buy a vowel, Donnie, because I'm with you. I have absolutely no idea what we're spelling or how we pronounce that. But you know what? They will in L.A. They'll figure it out.
you know, we call Tet McMillan, like the wide receiver for, that's what we're going to have. This guy's new name is Tat when he comes to Major League Baseball. We're just getting started on the early line. It's time to get through to some spread lines next. So make sure.
We have now learned the factual premise that the Lakers can win without LeBron James. So if you're the guy that was staging your own personal holdout, which I believe he was, and it backfires because the Lakers are 7-2, now you've got no choice but to really double down on the sciatica.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
If Jacoby Brissett was playing bad football for the past 3 weeks, Kyler Murray will be fully healthy, ready to go. Can't wait to get him on the field at Seattle and try to resurrect our season. Now you have Jacoby Brissett playing really good football. Putting Kyler Murray back in right now because he wasn't playing good football doesn't make any sense. The perfect storm here for Arizona. Hey, Kyler, going on IR takes the pressure off you. And Jacoby, you deserve the start. Go ahead and start, kid.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sauce Gardner heading over to the Indianapolis Colts as they go all in on this season and beyond. As I think a lot of people have been noting, that move does not just say, hey, we like what we have this year. It says we like what we have moving forward, and that includes Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback for Dallas. What does that decision to bring in Quinnen Williams say? That means they're poorly ran, but we already knew that.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
And the major thing you're going to say about Tom Izzo for the jump is, Tom Izzo don't duck anybody. You want to hear who they have to play preseason? Kentucky, Duke, UNC, and Arkansas. This is not the Jimmy Boeheim Don't Leave New York Carrier Dome Classic. This guy plays people.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
It's the early line, and it's time for Spread Lines here on a Tuesday morning right here on the Sports Grid Network. Donnie Rightside and Joe Ranieri getting you up to date on all the latest information and also what you need to find out about. And we got action tonight. Yeah, it's a Tuesday. We're watching college football. Ohio taking on Western Michigan. This line opened up as a slight favorite to Ohio, around 2.5 points, depending where you're shopping at, and a -1.5 and -1s are in the marketplace now. Total listed around 46.5 across the board. Ohio, Western Michigan, Joe. What is the spread line tonight we need to watch out for?
huge game in action for the future. Both teams 4-1 in league play, locked in a 4-way tie. But Western Michigan hasn't played a game since November 1st, so they are at home in this one. We just saw Ohio win a game last week. In fact, last Tuesday night, they ended up coming from behind in order to win against Miami of Ohio to give themselves an opportunity here at another MAC championship game. So we saw this open up at 2, Donnie, and boy, oh boy, it is now flipped. We're seeing pick'ems and -1 for the home team. They opened up as a home dog, but now we're starting to see a ton of Broncos money hit the marketplace. Keep an eye on the total as well. Opened up at 47.5. It's dropping, Donnie. Temperatures are going to be in the 20s. We're going to have double-digit winds. It is going to be a very cold night here in Bronco country with a MAC championship on the line here tonight.
How about that? More college football on the horizon for us. You see the next game coming up. It is Oklahoma and Alabama. This game is going to be played in Tuscaloosa. The look-ahead line on this one, at least at FanDuel, Joe, was -8.5 for Alabama. That's down to 5.5 at FanDuel, 6 at many other outlets. And look at this total, 46.5 to 45.5, depending where you're shopping at. And as I see it right now, a lot of action coming in on Oklahoma as the side here as a public underdog. Oklahoma, Alabama. What's that spread line today, Joe?
Yeah, well, this is going to be one of those situations, Donnie. You're right. We're seeing the money come in here, but this is going to be, okay, what matters most? Recent performance or overall performance for the full season? I mean, John Mateer has clearly not been the same quarterback since he returned from that break there with the hand injury here. But they doesn't seem to stop folks from thinking that he is the right side here. And Oklahoma's defense going up against this Alabama quarterback, Ty Simpson, who, Donnie, call me crazy, could very well be the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. I mean, what else can Alabama do? They've ripped off 8 wins in a row. And we've got a market that's showing an awful lot of respect here for the Oklahoma Sooners. I don't know. I think the money for Alabama is sitting on the sidelines, Donnie. If this thing gets any crazier, I think come kickoff, it's going to be all Alabama money.
ACC. How about this? Virginia and Duke trying to decide the ACC. Well, it'll be a big game on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. The opening line around 5.5 points. It's going slightly higher, Joe. 6.5s and 6s in the marketplaces right now as a favorite towards the Duke Blue Devils, and a total of 57.5. Virginia, Duke. What's your spread line here?
This is going to be very interesting to see how this progresses throughout the week, Donnie. We're going to keep a tab on this game because we just watched Duke lose to UConn when they had everything going in their direction, right? Yeah. They go to Clemson, they beat Clemson, now they got UConn. And then Virginia, who was undefeated, right, had the keys to the ACC championship game. Well, they fumbled that away against Wake Forest, literally kept turning the ball over to Wake Forest there. And now what do we do? So I think it's going to be interesting to see, Donnie, where this line goes as the week progresses. It's clear that Duke and that quarterback, Darian Menza, who makes more money than any other quarterback, by the way, in the NIL pool in the country, it's going to be interesting to see. Duke's gotten a lot, and I mean a lot of sharp money this season. I think that continues as the week goes on.
Thursday night football, another New York team involved here, and a double-digit underdog are the New York Jets. Garrett Wilson's like, yeah, you know what? Tried to come back, knee hurts. I'm going to be out now. I don't know who's playing for the New York Jets. The New England Patriots, though, handling success. Monster win against Tampa Bay on Sunday. The winning streak continues. They come home as a double-digit favorite, which currently sits at -11.5 and a low total of 43.5. My guess that 43.5 is not the total for the game. It's how many pass yards and the expectations that Justin Fields will deliver here. Double-digit favorite, Joe. What's the spread line here?
Yeah, Donnie, the look-ahead line here was about 10.5, yeah. And that's kind of where it opened, and then we started to see some money come in yesterday, early money on the Patriots, pushing it up to 11.5. But it's very hard. Divisional matchups, Donnie, we've seen this before. The Jets, I don't know, are scoring special teams. Their offense is revolved around their special teams now. Apparently, they're good for run backs and kickbacks and everything else. I only see this line And this is going to be interesting, Don. What is the line in the sand where this line grows to before the buyback happens? I don't think we're there yet. I think this thing continues to rise before we start seeing the buyback, which will probably be, Donnie, for 12, 13 points before it's all said and done. The public is never going to back the Jets here.
No, they're not going to back the Jets. Because it's funny, too, because you look at the Jets with that, win last week. It's like, hey, now it's a double digit. Let's just see if you can ride it out. If you're going to get multiple special teams touchdowns, I don't care what your team is, you're going to hang around games with a possible chance to win. I don't know if that's possible, but also the whole saying goes, like, you're not asking for a straight up victory here. You got to be able to cover that 11.5. That's what it's going to be, 12.5, 13.5 by the time we get to game time. We'll find out. And also, short work weeks always make for interesting scenarios here. Let's get to the association tonight, Joe. You got the Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. This line opened up overnight around a -1.5. We're seeing now 2.5s in the marketplace, depending where you're shopping, and a total of 231.5. Celtics and 76ers. What's the spread line tonight for your action?
Yeah, right. You're right, Donnie. I mean, it was 1.5 last night. Now we're starting to see more of that Philly money coming in. I believe this is the on again, off again. This is the Embiid game. Embiid should be available. And you know who else might be available? Paul George for the first time here. So we might very well get to see the entire complement of the 76ers preseason on paper on the court at the same time. Doesn't shock me. The line is going to continue to move to the 76ers here. So get it early if you want to back them.
Playoff P is back for the Philadelphia 76ers, and away we go. Great topics there on Spreadlines. Let's get over to some NFL news and notes next, because Week 11 is on the horizon, people.
We have now learned the factual premise that the Lakers can win without LeBron James. So if you're the guy that was staging your own personal holdout, which I believe he was, and it backfires because the Lakers are 7-2, now you've got no choice but to really double down on the sciatica.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
If Jacoby Brissett was playing bad football for the past 3 weeks, Kyler Murray will be fully healthy, ready to go. Can't wait to get him on the field at Seattle and try to resurrect our season. Now you have Jacoby Brissett playing really good football. Putting Kyler Murray back in right now because he wasn't playing good football doesn't make any sense. The perfect storm here for Arizona. Hey, Kyler, going on IR takes the pressure off you. And Jacoby, you deserve the start. Go ahead and start, kid.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sauce Gardner heading over to the Indianapolis Colts as they go all in on this season and beyond. As I think a lot of people have been noting, that move does not just say, hey, we like what we have this year. It says we like what we have moving forward, and that includes Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback for Dallas. What does that decision to bring in Quinnen Williams say? That means they're poorly ran, but we already knew that.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
And the amazing thing you're going to say about Tom Izzo for the jump is, Tom Izzo don't duck anybody. You want to hear who they have to play preseason? Kentucky, Duke, UNC, and Arkansas. This is not the Jimmy Boeheim Don't Leave New York Carrier Dome Classic. This guy plays people.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Jets, Jets. Was it an ugly game in the Meadowlands this past weekend? Yes, it was, but the Jets did pick up a victory. I don't know how they did it. Their quarterback threw for like 3 yards in that game. Well, that's what happens when you are opportunistic on special teams and returning touchdowns here to help your team out. We don't know if that's going to happen on Thursday night, but you know what we do know? Aaron Glenn likes to talk about his quarterbacks, but doesn't really like it and tries to play the game. Here's Aaron Glenn.
Other than that, I would say this: please don't ask me anything about the quarterback, because I'm not going to tell you, and I don't want to waste my time when it comes to that. When it comes to who's starting. So, any other questions?
Aaron, after watching the tape, how would you evaluate the way Justin played yesterday?
You know what? Collectively, as an offense, I think we did some good things. The thing is, when you get 2 returns like that on special teams, the offense doesn't have a good amount of plays, especially in the passing game. We only threw 11 passes. I think he was 6 of 11. Obviously, there's some things that we got to clean up there. But there are also some good things that he did. I know he threw the 1 pick. I would say this: I was happy that he tried to force the ball, get the ball downfield in that situation. I thought Cleveland did a hell of a job in that coverage. They ran this inverted 2 where the safety would end up being the middle runner. And I thought they did a good job with that.
Look, when your quarterback is 6 from 11, there's an issue there. It's easy for us to say, like, what you can and can't talk about. There's no competitive advantage for him saying, oh, I'm not going to say Tyrod for Thursday or Justin Fields. Just admit it and move on at this point. Or maybe the broader spectrum, Joe, is they finally have the avenue to say, yeah, Justin Fields is going to start. He's terrible. We can't say we're tanking, but just having Justin Fields out there means we're tanking, or at least trying to, Joe.
Donnie, if by week 11 you're starting off the presser by telling us that don't ask me about the quarterback, well, there's no reason to, because you simply don't have a quarterback then. Yes. That's the issue. If we're not talking about the most important position on the field, that means you don't have one. So that means it doesn't matter who you choose one way or the other. No defense is going to be like, oh, my God, we're going to have to stay up extra hours now trying to prep for 2 quarterbacks. You don't have a quarterback on the Jets. Who are we kidding here, Donnie?
And Garrett Wilson wasn't traded at the deadline. He's now injured again. He should not see the field the rest of the way because there's no reason to ruin your young franchise wide receiver. 3 to 4 weeks with a knee sprain. I'm going to read into that as 4 to 8 weeks as what it should be. He should not play again for the Jets this season. But the Jets do make stupid decisions, have terrible turf. They'll probably bring him back in late December on that cold turf.
I'll wait for it, Donnie. But you know what? They're not the Giants. Here you go. See, because if it was Dave all day, he'd be playing, as a matter of fact. He'd be yelling at the doctors in the tent to get him back in there.
Exactly. Do you see what happened to neighbors at home playing for the New York Giants? Don't have that happen to Garrett Wilson. Just sit him out, lose football games. The Jets only want you to lose now, the fans, so you can get higher draft picks, build that franchise up, and we'll see if it plays out that way. How about the Commanders? They're a sinking ship this year, particularly on defense. Their head coach is a defensive coordinator. Their head coach led us to believe that he's not paying attention to defense because, you know what? Now I'm going to start calling defensive calls. Hey, coach, are you actually playing cornerback or linebacker? That ain't going to make any difference.
No, I'm glad it took him 9 games to figure out that maybe he didn't like what he was seeing from one of the worst defenses in the NFL, bar none. And, oh, by the way, one of your best defensive linemen is suspended now because he took a shot with a guy with a helmet on it. Like, just absolutely hilarious. Way to go, Dan Quinn. Spot on, my man.
Let's see what Tua's got for him in the bank here. A 2.5-point favorite for Miami at home. Look at that. The engine is revving up there on South Beach. And look at that total, 47.5. Now, we do see a TBD who's going to be the quarterback for Washington. If Daniels gets back in there, we'll find out. But also, Daniels has the bad elbow. Just leave the guy out. Same thing with the Jets, man. Just lose, Washington. That's your best case scenario. How about this? Get checked, people, after a random drug test. How crazy is that? Alex Singleton here had found testicular cancerous tumor that they removed the day after the Denver Broncos defeated the Raiders on Thursday Night Football. He should be coming back. Boy, that's a luck of the draw right there, huh?
Listen, rather be lucky than good there, Donnie. But that's often how it works. Like, oh, look at this. Well, we might as well take care of this while we're here. Yeah. Kind of absolutely crazy how things happen like that.
Yeah, you go into the hospital, hey, I got a high fever. Like, oh, no, you got appendicitis. Ooh, glad I'm here. We'll take care of that situation at this point. So that's just the luck of the draw and good stuff. If he can come back to one of the better defenses and the better records in football for those Denver Broncos. But, Joe, we had a game last night. If you like overs, if you like touchdown props, if you like everything working in your favor, that wasn't your game. Did you get fooled by those 4 o'clock games where everybody goes over the total? That game last night was an absolute defensive struggle in Green Bay that had 0-0 at the half. Now, what happened in that game last night and what that means moving forward for the rest of the NFC, let's take a deeper dive into the Eagles and the Packers from last night right here on the Early Line.
fly Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
His daughter, she's on the OF.
Okay.
She's on the OF.
Oh, is
now.
that right?
Yeah, she's on the OF.
So he's got
now.
an OnlyFans daughter and a little son
who says he can beat Curry and LeBron.
And he's coaching a team that was down 72 to
Keep
nothing.
that dude away from polite society.
Okay, by the way, I'm with you. I didn't know any of that is
Numerous pops gotta go.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
I can just cash out and say, see you later, bye-bye, and sell that contract. So there is a big difference. I've already said I will never, ever, ever again make a future bet with a sports book where the money gets tied up and I have to wait till the outcome of the event. Don't have to do that. All future bets for me are going to Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And the amazing thing you're going to say about Tom Izzo for the jump is, Tom Izzo don't duck anybody. You want to hear who they have to play preseason? Kentucky, Duke, UNC, and Arkansas. This is not the Jimmy Boeheim Don't Leave New York Carrier Dome Classic. This guy plays people.
College Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
On the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field last night, it was the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. All week long, we watched the lines in this game, hovering on the totals, 46.5, 45.5, 44.5, bouncing between, and also the Philadelphia Eagles as an underdog in this game. 2.5s turned into 1.5s, and some outlets, Joe, by game time, had the Philadelphia Eagles as a favorite. The final score was 10-7. Most people anticipated more scoring there. Yes, the totals were in the mid-40s. I thought, and also Joe thought, this game would stay to the under. Joe had a great bet yesterday on his buy under 10.5 as a team total for the Green Bay Packers, who were shut out in the first half, along with the Philadelphia Eagles. We didn't even get scoring until the third quarter. That was only a field goal, which led us to a 3-0 game entering into the fourth quarter. 10-7 game. The anticipation of both of these defenses getting after the quarterback, it was relevant. Now, granted, the Eagles did not get off a sack, but Green Bay was pressuring the quarterback. The Eagles got 3 sacks of Jordan Love. Let's start with the line and where it ended up yesterday, Joe. Were you surprised that eventually the Eagles did move to the favorite because the heavy ticket count, it was on the Eagles?
It was all on the Eagles, Donnie, and it was a lot of public betting too. So we saw the tickets, we saw the money coming in, but there seemed to be a pretty interesting pros versus Joes divide here. The pros were on Green Bay once that line started going down there, taking them as the home team, but overwhelming amount of support there from the public on Philadelphia, who wasn't a good game for the books, Donnie, because don't forget, a lot of people had the Eagles tied into a lot of teasers and parlays and those types of things from Sunday. And boy, they all cashed in a big way there last night.
Yeah, like we were talking about throughout the week, Joe, right? Like, I'm not really a teaser guy, but if you had to do a teaser for that, it would have been the Eagles getting getting over a touchdown yesterday. And then you would have just taken up that 45.5 to 50.5, 51.5 and taken it to the under. And that hit really easily. But let's focus on the game itself. Jalen Hurts, 15 of 26, $183, a touchdown, and no interceptions, passer rating of 92.3. Jordan Love, 20 of 36, 176, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but a passer rating of 68.5. Do you think going in, because sometimes you look at games like playoff games, colder temperatures, yes, but these two guys got some offensive firepower. But the one thing that was evident all throughout the week watching, Joe, the Philadelphia Eagles came off of the bye week. Was their offense great? No, but they were healthy across the board. Offensive line, wide receivers, running backs, adding talent on the defense. And every time I saw, Joe, a report come out for Green Bay on the practice report, it seemed like more guys were getting injured. And then in the game, even Romeo Doubs goes down. That was a fraction of the offense that we got from Green Bay at the start of the season. And I don't know if they can recover, Joe. That's back-to-back weeks, completely inept on offense.
Yeah, and another one of those situations, Donnie, very slow start for them. Defense doing everything in the world they could do. I mean, they only had one red zone trip the entire game, Donnie, and it didn't come until they scored that touchdown in the fourth quarter. That was it. I mean, otherwise, this game was really played between the 40-yard lines for the most part between these two teams. And don't forget that opening drive of Philadelphia, which took up, 9 minutes of the first quarter? That would have been points for Philadelphia as well had he not, had Jalen Hurts not fumbled it, which was clearly almost in the red zone there for the Green Bay Packers. So Philadelphia left some points out, but Green Bay, no Tucker Kraft, no Dot. Where was Watson last night? Where are all these weapons of theirs? Nowhere to be found.
No, nowhere to be found yesterday. And also, how about this, too? You take a look at the game and how it played out, because the Eagles had the 3-0 lead. They get a couple defensive stops. Saquon Barkley with a really nice play. Like Jalen Hurts avoids the pass rush, flips it out in the flat. One-on-one with Saquon Barkley. He's going to beat his man. Makes spin move outside, 41-yard gain. Very next play, throw it up in the air. Devonta Smith makes a play, and it's 10-0. And I always get a kick out of this, Joe, because we can start to take a look at some of the late-game shenanigans on both teams here. The Eagles go up 10-0. The Packers can't move the football. So the Eagles go into their, okay, we got about 8 or 9 minutes to go in the game. Let's just not give up a deep pass. Dink, dunk, dink, dunk, dink, dunk, dink, boom, touchdown Packers. And I say to myself, every single time I look at that, it's absolutely crazy where it's like you play great defense, but then you get in the prevent defense to try to prevent a win. So they get the touchdown there, Joe. Now coming back on the opposite side, the Eagles actually go on a nice drive, chew up some clock, but eventually have to punt the football back. And that's where the fun started. So the surprise is coming late in the game where 10-7 here. How did you feel this game ended, Joe, with some of the shenanigans by both coaches on a fourth down call that was terrible, and then the Eagles reciprocated on an even worse fourth down call?
Yeah, it felt like both guys, Sirianni and LaFleur, were trying at that point in the game, Donnie, to do anything. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They were trying to mix it up. They were trying to do something to break out and give their team an opportunity, and for the Eagles to close it out, and of course for the Packers to try and get anything going, positive momentum offensively here. But I think if I'm Sirianni, if I had to do it over again, I'm pretty sure I might have handled that final 30 seconds a little differently.
And also, you take a look at the Green Bay Packers, too, moving the football down 3 points, 2-minute warning or so. They get into the 4th and 1. They're running the football, but they get in shotgun and hand it off, and a great play by Jalen Phillips. Beats his guy off there, stops the guy in the backfield, which was Jacobs, forces the fumble, which didn't matter because it was a 4th down play anyway, and they get the football back. So I tweet out right away, hey, congratulations, Philadelphia Eagles, great win here. And I'm like, I understand they're going to get a little bit of time back by one of those Hail Mary type shots. First down, they run the football, understand. Second down, they run the football, understand. Third down, you run the football, and it's 4th down. So there's roughly, let's just call it 35 or 36 seconds. They're on about the late 38, 39-yard line. You're not kicking a field goal there because if you miss it, you're basically at midfield. But the easy opportunity there is you might want to line up and say, hey, look, if we get a delay game, it's no big deal. Let's try to draw them off sides, get an extra 5 yards. Then we might be able to go for it on a 4th and 3. I couldn't believe that ball snapped, and it was basically a punt play that said, you know what, one-on-one coverage, AJ, make a play. It falls incomplete, and then you go, wait a second. It's a new NFL with these kicking balls here, and I know it's cold. They have to get like 15 yards and you get a field goal chance when if you just punted the football out of the end zone into the stands, Joe, it would have ate 5 to 6 seconds more, and also more importantly, put them at the 20-yard line, which doesn't start them in the 35, 36, 37-yard line. I couldn't believe Sirianni did that, Joe, at the end of the game.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Donnie, that his mindset was, listen, even if it doesn't work, I don't think he thought Jordan Love and Green Bay were coming anywhere close to getting into field goal range anyway. I truly think that he had enough confidence in what he saw from his defense that it was right. I mean, if it's completed, if Brown comes down, then we're having a totally different, right? Feast or famine. We're having a totally different discussion. But the risk there was that you didn't have any confidence in your defense to be able to get the stop you needed to end the game, which they ended up doing. So, nothing ventured, nothing gained. But I think he had so much confidence in the defense that even if we don't complete this pass, big deal. They're not moving the ball into field goal range anyway.
The defenses were really good. The rushing attacks here, 3.3 yards per carry for the Philadelphia Eagles. For the Green Bay Packers, 3.9 yards per carry. You take a look also at the passing attempts, 26 for Jalen Hurts. That's per passing attempt, only 7 yards there as the average completion. You take a look at Jordan Love, 36 passing attempts, 4.9 yards as the average here. The defenses really came to play and sort of decided it. And then the funny part about this too, Joe, you saw at the end of the game, and McManus is coming back from like a quad injury, so he's not all the way there, and you ask him to kick a 65-plus yard field goal in cold weather. He cheats and gets the first kickoff the field goal away, and it comes up way short. So LaFleur's like, okay, we just saw that. He probably can't make this. Let's run a quick play, which they took a snap and just fired the football out of bounds and then go out there and kick it again. And that kick was even worse than the first kick. So two coaches out-dueling themselves. So I'm telling you right now, if I would have woke up this morning and the Eagles had lost that football game because Sirianni didn't punt, that would have been egregious. Sometimes your teams cover for you. And he answered it after the game like, I just want to stay aggressive. Nonsense. That's the stupidest move I've seen this year by an NFL coach to go for that when there was no reason to go for that, Joe. No reason at all.
No. There wasn't, feast or famine. So you're either, live by the sword, die by the sword. But boy, oh boy, you got away with one.
We're going to talk about the NFC and how it shapes up next year with who should be the favorite, who can win it, and also the fallout in New York, Abel style, next.
Fly Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
His daughter, she's on the OF.
Okay.
She's on the OF.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, she's on the OF.
So he's got
now.
an OnlyFans daughter and a little son
who says he can beat Curry and LeBron.
And he's coaching a team that was down 72 to
Keep
nothing.
that dude away from polite society.
Okay, by the way, I'm with you. I didn't know any of that is
Numerous
great.
Pops gotta go.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
I can just cash out and say, see you later, bye-bye, and sell that contract. So there is a big difference. I've already said I will never, ever, ever again make a future bet with a sports book where the money gets tied up and I have to wait till the outcome of the event. Don't have to do that. All future bets for me are going to Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And the amazing thing you're going to say about Tom Izzo for the jump is, Tom Izzo don't duck anybody. You want to hear who they have to play preseason? Kentucky, Duke, UNC, and Arkansas. This is not the Jimmy Boeheim Don't Leave New York Carrier Dome Classic. This guy plays people.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The NFC playoffs, the AFC playoffs are usually fantastic. You have the superstars that make their way into the playoffs, the fight to win the AFC/NFC, and the right to go to the Super Bowl. If we take a quick snapshot here of the NFC and the top teams in it here, the Philadelphia Eagles are the odds favorite right now at a plus 330 price. The Rams at a plus 340, the Lions at a plus 430, the Seahawks at a 5-1, then the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really good teams involved there. But I'm going to start with this question first, Joe. The Philadelphia Eagles at 7-2, if the season ended right now, would be the number one overall seed. They have beaten the Los Angeles Rams, and they will play the Detroit Lions next week. Now, sometimes you want to wait just to see, because if the Eagles do pick up a victory, that would be massive if they knock off the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers, one of the toughest divisions in football, with still a game against the Chicago Bears, which I think is the Black Friday game in Philadelphia. That will be something to crow about. But I'm going to wait till next week, till crowning the Philadelphia Eagles the NFC champions. But do you agree of how these odds fall with the Eagles, Rams, Lions, and Seahawks?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yes. And I think we'll have a pretty good idea this week with the Rams and the Seahawks getting ready to do battle. So I think we'll have a pretty good indication of where those two teams match up against one another. But the Eagles, listen, has it been pretty? No. Has it been consistent? No, but that really doesn't matter at the end of the day, Donnie, because we still have, there's 18 weeks in the season, then you got the postseason, and there's still plenty of time. And we've seen the Eagles do this before. You know, they start slow, they figure it out. It's not for a lack of talent. They plug the holes on the defense. It's a championship defense now. Now they just got to get a little more consistent in the offense. And yes, they're champs until somebody beats them, Donnie. So as far as I'm concerned, they should be the rightful favorite here.
Yep, we'll see as it moves forward here. And also almost a devastating injury. You saw, by the way, the Green Bay Packers lost their center to a broken leg. That's a massive injury for them heading down the stretch.
Huge.
The Philadelphia Eagles lost Lane Johnson that game. Looked like a knee or an ankle injury. He actually returned on the final drive. So even if, let's just say, he sits out this week, you lose Lane Johnson for the season. Those are things that will keep you from winning an NFC championship or a Super Bowl, those type of important players. Sometimes it's just a little bit lucky than good at that point here. But let's flip it over to the New York Giants. They hit the spotlight yesterday. Why? Because Brian Daboll is out as head coach of the Giants. Yesterday, I was on Newswire when that news broke with Craig Mish. We had some fun to talk about it in real time. What did you think, Joe, when that came down the timeline? You saw Brian Daboll was out as the Giants head coach.
Not shocking. I mean, we showed his press conference yesterday, right, Donnie, where on Sunday, he looked like it just defeated, and you knew it. I mean, not only lost, again, he's lost now 4 games this year, Donnie, in which he has had the lead. His team has had the lead late in the fourth quarter, where he had an over 95% chance to actually win the game, and he didn't win one of those games. Not to mention that, again, you didn't protect the future of your organization, your franchise quarterback in any way, shape, or form. You got to go. And the Maras didn't want to fire him, Donnie. The time to fire him, everyone should have been after the Bronco debacle, but they didn't. They did not want to. If he wins one of those 4 games, Donnie, where they have the lead late in the fourth, he's still the coach today. He's still the coach.
And you take a look, too, like the downfall of the Giants. And this is coming from a guy that I was live right here a couple of months ago in the early line going like, oh, my goodness. Like ESPN bet just hung a 3.5 on the Giants. Don't care how bad they are. You should be able to stumble in the 4 victories. They have a couple wins, Joe, but quite frankly, they should have way more wins than this. Look at the losses the Giants suffered. Up 3 points there with 14 seconds to go against the Cowboys. End up losing that game, I believe, in overtime. Then you take a look at a horrible Saints team. You're on the road with a 14-3 lead, and you can't come away with that win. Then you have the game where the Denver Broncos didn't even score a point through the first 3 quarters, and you had a multi-touchdown lead. You let that one get away. And then last week, 20-10, you're up late in the fourth quarter against an inept offense for the Bears, and you lose that game too. So even if you look and say, we're a bad football team, at least 2 of those 4 games should have been wins. And we talked about it yesterday saying, how do you line up with Brian Daboll? Yes, it is on the players a lot, but that's a pattern, and that's a head coaching pattern where you have the lead and you can't just coach these guys to the finish line, Joe.
No, and for whatever reason. But, I mean, we've talked about it, right? Dysfunction, leadership not working. He has been under the gun. I mean, this is a guy that inherited Daniel Jones and not a whole heck of a lot else, but somehow managed to get him to the playoffs and win a game. Manages to win Coach of the Year a couple of years ago. And from that point on, It's been it looks like he looks like a man that the pressure of the New York media market and having to win is absolutely destroyed him. And I thought by getting, having Jackson Dart now as the future, that the Mara family and the Giants organization would have backed and said, listen, you're our guy to help us, bring this kid along and be our franchise quarterback. And instead, it all collapsed, and it collapsed in a hurry too, Donnie. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is. And also understand this. Like, you look at the Giants. Like, they had Joe Judge, and I thought he was one of the worst hires in the history of professional football. Like, high school Harry, one of the stupidest introductory press conferences I've ever seen, and I was laughing at the Giants. And the only thing I say to myself was like, okay, I want Washington to be bad. I want Dallas to be bad. I want the Giants to be bad because I'm an Eagles fan. When they hired Brian Dable, like, I think they got this one right. I really do. First year, it looks like they're on the way up. They hitched their wagon to Daniel Jones. They obviously couldn't coach Daniel Jones, and away they went all the way down, and Dable ends up fired. But how about this? Like, Brian Dable was the reason why Josh Allen had that turnaround. He was sensational in Buffalo, so you would think, hey, fired in New York, struggling Buffalo Bills offense, let's come on back. But Bills head coach Sean McDermott says adding Brian Dable to their offensive staff is not under consideration right now. They're still going to keep it up there with Brady and see what happens. Now, the Bills should be able to turn it around, but Dable, that offense was high flying when he was there.
Yeah, but they didn't get along, Donnie, if you recall. At the end there with McDermott and Dable, they were butting heads a lot here. And I think a lot of that had to do with Dable. The issues back then when Dable was running the offense was great. Yeah. The defense had big issues. And McDermott's a defensive guy here. And Dable knew he was the hot commodity. So it didn't exactly end great when Dable left there.
And here's the Giants needing wins with everybody injured. Packers, Lions, Patriots bye week. Oof. Commanders may be there. Vikings, Raiders may be there. And the Dallas Cowboys. I should already have 4 wins on my Giants ticket. Damn you, New York Giants. What else did I expect? It's the New York stinking Giants here. We'll be back to talk some college hoops next.
The rest of the wide receiver group is underwhelming. Kincaid's had some moments. They need a playmaker in the worst way this offseason. I know they keep trying to get it done or pick these guys off. Maybe Keon Coleman will be that guy. Maybe Josh Palmer will be that guy. It's not working. They haven't replaced Stephon Diggs, and it shows. And I think Josh Allen could use some help. So Buffalo Bills in the offseason, free agency, NFL draft, get yourself a big playmaker.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Now,
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Let me ask you this. If they brought in Belichick, you don't think that... Yeah.
Oh, of North Carolina?
Yeah, they're playing much better now.
I wouldn't let him coach my kids. I don't even have any.
I tell you what, they would be more disciplined than what they are now.
No, offensively. They'd be lifeless.
Yes, they would.
They'd be lifeless.
Yes, Brian Dable is a gutless head coach.
Bill Belichick came off a bye against
Gutless
Clemson.
head coach.
3 plays in, they gave him 150 yards.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
But here we go. This is like, Pet Sematary. You guys don't remember this movie from the 1980s. But look, goodbye Tom Brady, I guess, wants to keep the generation alive. Couldn't he just have had this dog breed and just take the puppy of some kind? I don't know. But hey, Tom Brady does different things. Maybe this is just a signal for cloning in the future for humans. I'm not really sure here.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Make me commissioner of sports. I promise you I'll make it better. Everything I say, Joe, usually turns to gold. No matter if I want the college basketball tournament expanded or if I want the college football playoff expanded, just trust me on this. We love college basketball, but just not this early. There's too much stuff going on across the sports landscape. Hear me out on this, Joe. If we had me as commissioner of all sports and we opened up January the 1st with the NBA and college basketball, like, wouldn't the world be such a better place now? I feel like we waste so much product on the NBA and college basketball when we would love to pay attention to all of these games. And why can't, Joe, we have an extended, we like baseball in the summer, but you'll be awesome. College basketball rolling into the month of July and August having the NBA finals, which gives a perfect handoff to the NFL season. Why can't we have that? We could have the perfect luxury of sports all year long.
Listen, Donnie, you're killing me here, man. You know as well as I do that we get 1 month to breathe in this business here, my friend. And that month is July. And you want to sit there and now power a college basketball into it. So we basically never have a chance to breathe. You're out of your mind. No, I look forward to July and just baseball. I look forward to it every year. Just give me baseball and I'm good to go.
Man, I'm telling you, you'd be a tough vice commissioner to have under me. You'd be fighting me every step of the way. And I want to make these
nothing
decisions,
to do with
people.
that.
All right. You want anything to do with this AP Top 25, Joe? Number 1 is Houston. Number 2 is Purdue. Number 3 is UConn. Number 4 is Duke. Number 5 is Arizona. Yes, it's early, but you do have to rank these teams early. And some of these teams will start to play better competition as we move forward. But this is the layout right now. Do you agree, Joe? Houston should be number 1 right now.
Well, I mean, listen, yes, all of this is all great here after 1 week. I mean, you've got a ton of incoming freshmen this year, Donnie, that are really starting to make an impact in just a handful of games for programs around the country here. But a lot can change. International players, but even these teams, Donnie, at this point are still trying to get used to rotations, who does what. In another month or so, by the time we hit December, some of these teams will really start coming to their own. We'll have a better idea. But for right now, I think the usual suspects in this list, the top 25, it's all going to be mixing and matching from this point on.
I get angry typically at the early season, call it the silly season, but every once in a while we get some gems, Joe, tonight in the Battle of Kentucky tonight. How about Kentucky versus Louisville? 643, 644 rotation number, open up 4.5-point favorite, still sitting across the board at 4.5. But how about this, Joe? 168.5 on the overnight number for the total. Ooh, that seems high. Take the under. No. 175.5, Joe. We're getting up and down the court tonight.
Donnie, this is one of, if not the biggest rivalries in college basketball here. And unfortunately, for Louisville, it has been dominated, shocker, by Kentucky here, who have won 6 of the last 7 between the schools. But Pat Kelsey, the new head coach over there at Louisville, man, he has got some firepower, Donnie. They just dropped 100 points, I think, on Jackson State last game at the Yum Center there, and they haven't scored 100 points as a Louisville team in a very, very long time. So this is going to be one of the craziest atmospheres that we're going to see. And yes, I think points are definitely coming. A little less defense, a little more points, a little more running with the way these guys like to play.
10 p.m. game on the West Coast. Gonzaga, I think it's on the West Coast here. Gonzaga versus Creighton. I'm not showing a neutral site here. 12.5-point favorite, Joe. That opening line, 8.5. Money growing on Gonzaga in the spot, and also roughly about 70% of the tickets as well. 166. You know what, man? I'm loving these totals, Joe. What am I making? I'm used to 142.5s out here.
Yeah, well, Gonzaga is always there with Mark Few. He's going to run, and run. I watched them beat Oklahoma, Porter Moser and Oklahoma, in that second game for Gonzaga. They had a lot of questions, a lot of new faces, a lot of new moving parts. Graham Ike, the holdover there for Gonzaga, phenomenal here. And yes, this is going to be a battle, and yet it's probably going to be raining threes in this game. Wouldn't shock me if we had another over here.
By the way, things are starting to look up, too. Like Wake Forest takes on Michigan tonight. I got Duke and Army, at least their Division I games. Florida and Florida State going to take on each other. You got obviously the top 12 teams, Louisville and Kentucky, going to tee that one up. That game is at the Yum Center in Kentucky. Just scrolling down, you got Texas Tech and Illinois, Joe, tonight. Two ranked teams playing each other. Ball State, Wisconsin. Okay at that point here. And then Creighton and Gonzaga. So I like to bitch and moan about we don't get these good games early. Tonight's not a bad night for college basketball action if you want to sit back on a Tuesday. Hour number 2 is up next. The fun has just begun. Come on back with us.